Welcome to the Intro to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript series. My name is Sharisa. I am an educator, a designer, a developer, passionate about e-learning. If you have not yet found me on Eventbrite and taken one of my workshops, I invite you to do so. And if you have already found me and have taken a workshop and this is a review session for you, I hope that it helps solidify your learning even more. So let's get started. So in this video, we are going to mark up an article about e-learning development with HTML, and then in the future videos, the videos following, we're going to style it with CSS. So for the article, I went to ChatGPT to write it. I do want to point out a little bit of prompt engineering with ChatGPT. I love to use a persona. So I make ChatGPT a subject matter expert. So here I'm saying you are Cami Bean, author of The Accidental Instructional Designer. She's a subject matter expert. And then I am not the expert, so I'm saying, can you help me, an e-learning developer, write a blog post? And I was very specific about how many sections. It came out a little bit stale, and so I did add, can you rewrite this article in a more conversational way, and I loved what it wrote for that. So if I was actually going to publish this article, I of course would put my own energy into it. But for these purposes, it works great. So let's get started. I just copied and pasted that into this CodePen. If you have not used CodePen, please pause this video and go to codepen.io. Sign up for a free account. That's all I had for years, probably 6 years. You don't need anything more. And that will allow you to fork this content. I will put this URL into the comment section. You can fork it, and then that makes it yours. It's on your computer. You can edit it, save it, and that's what I would love to see you do. So let's get started. You can change the title to whatever you'd like. Hit save. I do recommend going to behaviors, and a lot of times this is off. So format on save, and you're going to see the indenting change in our code when that is set on. And then this up here just changes the view. So sometimes people have a different default view and they're trying to figure out, I've had students in the past trying to figure out how to make their page look the same as my page so that we can line up our code. So just a couple little tips there, and then down here at the bottom is where you would fork it. Let's get started. So, every language has grammar. French, Spanish, Italian, English has grammar, and coding languages are the same. We refer to it as syntax. Syntax is the set of rules that define how symbols, keywords, and expressions are combined to create valid code in a programming language. So, HTML has a very specific syntax, and then CSS is going to have a very different syntax when we get into that. We are going to use these brackets and keywords inside of the brackets to divide this block, a massive block of text, into something that has some hierarchy to it. So right now this is just one blob of text, and every word is equally important, and this is not how anybody reads a web page. We probably all know that. 97%, I think I do have the article here. Do people read the web? No is the resounding answer. They read about, I think, 20% of the page. 90% of people read just the headlines, and even more importantly, the browsers only read the headlines. So when it comes to search engine optimization, these headlines are really important, and we need to tell the browser and the people reading the page what the headlines are, because that's what they're getting after. So the number one headline on this page, H1, is this: tips for e-learning. I am going to take the word title out of there. And this is like a little subtitle. I'm just going to put it in a paragraph tag for now. Seems to be the most semantically correct. I am going to give it an ID of, I'll do title subheading. Okay, so that gives a little more information about what it is. I am going to bring in an image that I have in my assets manager. Oops, it's telling me I've not saved the last of my work before I go to leave. I'm going to go to my assets manager. This is why I do have a paid CodePen account, is so that I can have my assets right here where they're so convenient for me. And I can actually go get the tag that I need and go back to my project. And it's taking a little while to come up. There we go. And back to my starter code. And I'm just going to paste that tag here. Oop, let me fix that. It's a little too big. Okay, what I just added to that image tag is called an attribute. It's called an attribute. It gives us more information about the element. So each one of these is called an element. There's an opening tag and a closing tag. You'll notice the closing tag begins with a /. All these things are the grammar that I was talking about. All these things are the syntax. And the tags that we are going to use today are H1, H2, H3, paragraph, image, section, ordered list, list item, a tag, which is the link tag, header, main, footer, and small. So we're going to be using quite a few tags. Now, I just want to show you this little picture. I love these little Russian nesting balls or dolls. Hopefully you've all seen them before. But this is how our web page is going to work. So we have got these three elements right here, and I'm going to put them inside of a box called header. So the main element is going to be the header. This is what we would refer to as the parent element. And then when I hit save, you will notice these three indented in 2 spaces because they are the children of the parent element. They are elements. And they could have, not these ones in particular, elements inside of them. So just like the Russian nesting dolls, that elements inside of elements inside of elements. And this is how a web page works. So I'm going to take everything else and put it inside of main tags. So we are going to have, I want this on the next line. We're going to have 3 big boxes on our page: header, main, footer. We'll fill in this information later. Okay, great. So as we start wrapping things in tags, we don't have so much of a blob of text because we need to create a visual hierarchy. Good design always leads the reader's eyes through the page using visual hierarchy, meaning the king is more important than the knight, which is more important than the pawn on a chessboard, right? So we have a visual hierarchy on our page. The H1 is the most important headline, but then we are going to have several H2s on our page, and they are going to all have the same styling, the same font, the same size. They're going to be indented exactly. They have the same margins and padding, create this repetition, and thereby create a hierarchy on the page of what is important, because that's what people want to know. And that's what browsers want to know. They want to know what is important. And this is the purpose of HTML. You saw that I can just put text. I don't even need tags, but that would not be readable. It would not be accessible. And it certainly wouldn't be aesthetically pleasing. Okay, I'm going to give this something because I'm going to need to put something in an H2 tag. H2. Okay, I'm going to divide. We've got 5 points that ChatGPT gave us, and then I'm also going to have an introduction, and I'm going to have a conclusion. So we're going to have 7 sections in all, and I'm just going to mark a few of these so that you can see how the hierarchy works and how my page begins to take shape visually. Okay. Now, I haven't given this any styling, but the browser is going to do some basic styling to just get things started. We are going to override those styles later. Okay, I'm not going to do all of this on screen. I'm just going to do a few for you. Now, this is a subheading. I do want you to look back at the ChatGPT. Know your learners. This is one of our section headings. And then there's 2 subheadings underneath it. Those are going to be H3s. And then under each H3, we have paragraphs, block of text. Needs to be there, even though so many people don't read it, because people will look for the information that they're wanting and, read that paragraph. So it's got to be there. Okay, so I'm going to do one of these sections and then move on. And you can see how that works on down the page. Let me make sure that I didn't miss anything. Okay, I'm going to skip now, for the sake of time, to this file. I'm just going to drag it over here, where I've completed all of my sections. So you can see I've got a section. I've got 7 different sections, and they each have a title for the consistency and the repetition, and they're currently all styled the same as they should be. You can visually see what the section titles are, what the subtitles are, what the paragraphs are. So our semantically correct tags are working in our favor. So I'm just going to go from here and add that. Oh, I need to add that footer again. Footer. So in the footer, I'm just going to put a copyright symbol, and we are going to use the small tags. And it might seem like a small tag wouldn't be a semantically correct tag. Semantics being that the tags tell the browser and future developers what the content is. It's giving information about what kind of content it is, rather than say just a div, which is just a generic container to wrap around content. And it seems like small would be a styling sort of container, but it actually isn't. Semantically, small is intended for copyrights and for legal information, and so it is. I am going to ampersand copy. Now, I used to forget this all the time, and as developers, there's so much constantly changing that it would actually be kind of pointless to memorize some things. But grow accustomed to looking everything up in the browser. So let's say I wanted to know what the copyright symbol was in HTML. I would just Google that, and there it is right there for me. Never feel shame that you've forgotten something. Just immediately Google it. This working. Uh-oh. this working one doesn't have all the paragraphs marked. Oh. Okay, when we go to the finished HTML one, it is going to have all the paragraphs marked. So the last thing that we need to do, and I'll just go ahead and do it here in this working one, is to add an index. I do want to show you, yeah, this article from Medium. You can tell I really like Medium. It's great. I don't work for them, but I think they're great. This is a little index so that when I click on the standards for contrast, it's going to jump ahead to that section on the page. So it's not taking me to another website or even another page of the same website. It's taking me to the same page, but to a specific section. So I'm going to show you how we do that. We're going to work with an ordered list. There are ordered lists and there are unordered lists. Unordered list would be UL. And again, opening and closing tag. And inside either unordered lists or lists, we have LI, elements, nested inside, opening and closing tags. Okay. And then inside, so there are, I believe, 6, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So inside we're going to put our link tag. So that's an A, it's closing link tag. And what we put between the link tags is what the link will say. So let's link out to Know Your Learners. Okay, that section. So that's what is going to be, you can see it appearing over here on this page. And then in order to actually send, when they click on the link, to send it to the right place, we will use an attribute, href equals, notice the syntax. Oh, what are we doing there? Something, oh, I accidentally deleted something. We're all watching that. Okay. So the way to get to link to a specific section on a web page is with the hashtag of the ID for that section. So I need to go give this section an ID. And I'm going to give it Know Your Learners. Okay. And so here I'm going to put the same thing. Know Your Learners. Now when I click on that, it's going to take me to Know Your Learners. And not here in the code pen, but it actually would show up here in the as part of the URL that we were going to Know Your Learners. So now I am going to skip all the rest of this work. Oh, there it is again. There we go. And I'm going to skip to the finished HTML page. Just kind of take you through it. We are going to move this width attribute that we use for the image to the CSS later. And you can see where I've given each section an ID. This is an identifier because when we go to target for styling, when we go to target a specific element, if there's more than one of that same element on the page, we need some way to target the specific element. So I've given an ID to each one of these sections. And I just use the title of the section with dashes. So you can see all of that marked up, and then our footer. And I believe that's everything that we need for our HTML. I'll see you in the next video.